Hi, welcome to the Meet the Creators series. I believe we're on episode 12 now. Today we're talking to Marty Yip, the owner of Sensational Solutions, the nutrient brand here in Humboldt County. Marty has been a great supporter of Canopyright. Actually, he's probably the earliest person to even ever know about Canopyright because he was literally at dinner with us when we first started talking about it, the Emerald Cup 2 years ago. We went out to Chinese food. We were talking about this idea, how could we build a way for people to use the blockchain? Actually, Jeff had already built it at that time. Here, let's get Jeff on stage. Go live with Lele and Jeff, and maybe Marty's in here now. Let's see. Jeff and Layla, do you guys remember that Chinese food dinner from the Emerald Cup with Marty?
Yeah, I never left a tip because I paid the bill, so I had to call them the next day to to give them my credit card number to leave a tip. Copyleft cultivars joined. We're working on it. Kelsey and I talked about it yesterday. Copyleft cultivars.
What's up?
Did we invite Marty in, Kelsey?
Looks like, is Marty Soulshine growing?
No, he's Sensational Solutions. Can you invite him, send him a link?
Let me see.
You should be able to invite him.
I think Soulshine Growing is Caleb, which we could also invite in.
I think they stepped out.
I think Marty will be here, though. We just talked to Marty. I think, I think he'll be here in just a minute. But what were you saying about the Chinese dinner, Kelsey? I was just jumping in.
Yeah.
And then Jeff said that about the tip.
Just that's my earliest memory of Marty was the first Emerald Cup that I went to when you introduced me to Jeff. Marty was also there. We were sitting around the table, this big round table at the Chinese food restaurant for dinner that night, and just kind of talking about this thing Jeff had built and the potentials. And Marty was telling us all about his perspectives on it.
So I do remember that dinner, but I want to get Marty on here, and there should be a way from where you're at, Kelsey, that you can invite him to this.
You know where I click? Because I click on the top left where it says people who are...
Click down below where there's 3 dots, maybe. I don't know because I don't have it on this screen.
Yeah, okay. I think I see what you're talking about. It's just only allowing me to invite people to join who are in here.
I think you can invite them to the live. Here, I'm going to go text them and see what's going on.
Hey, Joshua, Selfridge, ATX. Is that Atlanta? What's ATX? Eclectic Weeds. Christy. Hi, Christy.
He hasn't got us. Hey, Daniel. Well, why don't we tell everybody what happened for us this week and what they can go do while they're waiting for Marty to come on?
We launched.
We launched. It's a real thing. You can all go look at it and go, this exists. So please, everybody, hey, Christy, please pass the website around, www.canopyright.com. Anyone can register as a home grower and look at the marketplace. You do have to register to look at the marketplace, but it doesn't cost anything. You can just jump in. And if I wasn't on my phone, I would show you guys the marketplace. I was just showing Pebbles Trippet, the marketplace. And if you guys don't know who Pebbles Trippet is, then you need to go Google and get some cannabis history lessons. Pebbles Trippet is responsible for the Trippet standard. And I showed her our thing on my phone, and she just gave me the biggest hug. It was like, oh, look at all those beautiful, amazing flowers. It's like, it's just gorgeous. So if you just like to look at flowers, you should go register too, because they're flowers that aren't seen normally and really amazing, unique things. And you can see how easy it is to save your amazing and unique thing as well. What's going on with Marty?
Hi, at 79.
Let me try to give it.
Layla, your audio's cutting in and out. Just so you know. Jeff, are you able to hear? Am I the one that has bad service?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, I'm a little distracted by my ongoing fiasco.
Right. Yes, you're lawyering. If anybody's got any questions so far, for Jeff or us about Canopyright, or if you have a question that you want us to ask Marty once we get things rolling, just shoot it in the comments below. Hi, Johnny. What's up? Or possibly maybe it's Rose. Hi, Rose. Let's see. Hi, Matt. Hi, everybody. If you guys have any questions, we're just having a little technical difficulties getting Marty on stage right now. But we did make the announcement that we got our canopyright.com launched, and you can create an account by going to canopyright.com. Start following people, following breeders you like. We've got a lot of really cool cultivars on there. I am a big fan of the garlic cocktail that's in there. My husband's cultivator has been growing it, and it is amazing. It's tall and giant, and just really punches you in the nose. Yay, we got Marty! All right. Get you up here, Marty.
Hello.
And get Lele back. Hi, Marty. How's it going?
Sorry. Good. How's it going? I was at that other meeting thing. So Paige.
No worries. How's it going?
Hey Jeff, how's it going?
Good. Good to see you.
Yeah, so we could jump right in. I hope Lele comes back in a moment.
Sure.
So Marty, tell us the story from the beginning. How did you find your way to the plant and where you're at now?
Okay. Well, it started because I was raised in the 70s and 80s, so it was around in a lot of the different like circles. Growing up in Davis, there was definitely agriculture and a kind of a hippie community, and so I was more on the hippie side of things. And so I had older sister, older friends. So because my sister was like 5 years older, and I hung out a lot with the skaters, I was introduced to it back then. But back then it was just brickweed, so you had to sort the seeds out and whatnot. And then I met some people that I ended up working with later that were selling a lot of the hydroponic back then, and there wasn't really strain names. It was just the hydro, the hydge, whatever, whatever it was. And that stuff lit me up, man. And I was probably like, 15 at that time. I'm 47 now, so it's like that's a long time ago, right? And so it became more of a norm to grow more hydroponic herb, you know, and throughout the 90s and late 90s. So that's what you kind of got. But still, people were, you know, I was smoking a lot of Skunk One, a lot of Afghans, a lot of Northern Lights, a lot of like AK-47, a lot of those blueberry, a lot of those classic strains. Because really that's all that was around when people brought back stuff from Amsterdam or Canada at that point. There wasn't a lot of landrace hunting back then. The only landrace hunting you got was that brickweed that was in your, you know, or you visited a country, but even then you just labeled where you went to and you weren't really seeking it out, you know, going for big mega hunts. And then yeah, so that's where was introduced to it back in the day, was just that old, you know, sit behind the corner kind of culture of like, what, no, I'm not, you know, spraying it, put it through the, you know, the tube with the air freshener, you know, whatever, the clothing softener at the end of it, out the window. Yeah, that culture, you know, before it was, everyone's like, what's that weird burnt, like,
When
fresh
we picked
laundry
up
scent.
skunk from the side of the road.
Yeah, or you had, you know, Ziploc. We didn't have sophisticated bags or jars. We just put in a Ziploc in our bag, a bag in our pocket, and people were just like, "Who the fuck is that smell?" You know. So that was when I was back in it, and you know, it didn't matter what you grew. People were getting anywhere like well over 4,000 a pound back then. You know, so it didn't really matter what you were growing. And then, you know, this culture now, there's so many crosses. It's just hard, like really hard to keep up. You know, when people say, "Have you heard this strain or this strain?" You're like, "Huh? What's it a cross of?" You know? And so, but anyways, that's kind of where I started out with it, and then realized it had medicinal value for my epilepsy. And then right away, once I heard California was like, "Oh, we're doing medical," I was like, no way, I'm old enough. And it's, you know, it was 1996, sign me up. And that's it. Rest is whatever, you know? So I'm here for you guys. So let's talk.
Well, I think, Marty, I would like to talk with you. We don't always talk, but a little bit about the soil, because one of the ways how you and I got introduced was through your amazing wife, who's a microbiologist. And I was an indoor vertical grower, and everybody was telling me I had to grow hydroponically. And I was trying to figure out how to grow with dirt. And I met you at a roller derby party. And this was like 2009, 2010. Yeah. And you said to me, no, keep doing it. Like you can, like you gave, when no one else understood the value of the dirt, you like totally empowered me around it. And it really does give it a different flavor. I won't say good or bad, but it does. And it also is part of, like, you, because of your breeding, you designed a whole nutrient system around that plant, right? To make that, like, how all that, those harmonies go together.
Well, synergy,
That's the way
harmony. Yeah. Well, so it's funny because, like, so I grow both. I have, you know, indoor and outdoor. A lot of it has to do with the conditions I'm in. I'm sitting actually outside right now because I want to be able to smoke in this meeting. Every once in a while, I'm at the inside. It's starting to get kind of chilly, but because of cold conditions, I'm very limited on what you can grow outside. So I specifically choose cultivars that can handle, no matter the name, that can handle my conditions. But also when I do indoor stuff, I want to make sure I don't have to deal with heat. Like inland people, when they're running like a lot of lights, have to battle with heat, so they got to run the air conditioner. So it's easier for them to manipulate those conditions. Now, on a good summer day here in northern Humboldt, maybe 72. I mean, what's the highest we ever seen? 80. That was one day for like a couple hours, right? But that's not enough to make our indoor gardens spike up to, you know, high levels, so we can keep that ideal temperature 24/7 without running air conditioners. And then in the wintertime, we get to rely on the lights themselves to keep the room hot, you know? So it's a win-win when you're in environments like this. So it's easy for me to like grow anything indoors. Now, outdoor, I have to go out, you know, either inland or, you know, pick some coastal varieties that work here. But a lot of that has to do with how I feed the plants too, because if I have a controlled environment, you can feed it anything you want and you can read the plant and have enough time to recover. Outdoor, in the different climates, you definitely have a difference in availability, even with store-bought soil. So you could buy the most raddest, like hyped out, like can cut the bag, put the plant in, and let it grow. In most, I've seen it because I've done those chop off bags from like Roots Organics and all that stuff, and done those side by side tests, and they run out of nutrients too, especially in inland when it's hot and you're giving a lot of water because it's flushing out. So I said, well, how do we supplement this, not just for NPK, but also trigger the hormones for the plants to be able to want these other lingering nutrients? So our nutrients were designed more for like a hormone based and amino, so that way you can reuse your soils over and over and over and over again without mucking it up. Especially like right now, we're having like flooding everywhere. It's going to be hard for those people who amended all their soils to be able to recorrect that in such a fast time without having to use liquids or some kind of synthetic, which we don't really encourage or want, you know? So we develop our products to maximize the plant in any condition the best we can. It's all grower specific, you know, the grower, it's up to the grower. But yeah, fruits and vegetables, you name it, all the way to whatnot. I mean, that's the idea, to maximize the potential of any fruit. So that was the basis of what we did. And by chance, cannabis was definitely there. So within that, we took on a lot of analytical testing, because the hemp market was seeing a lot of problems with spiking of THC. So we bought a high performance liquid chromatography, which all the ISO labs use to analyze for the certificate of analytics for selling in metric or whatnot. So we were testing a lot of doses with our fertilizers and started to see, is like, oh shit, if you're amending your soil with something that's time released and you have, let's say, a cold spike, it's going to time release. You're going to be caught with your pants down in the wrong time, and you're going to be like, oh shit, my plants are too hot. How'd that happen? Because it released the microbes, go, oh wow, you know, we got a perfect environment, versus them going dormant when it's super hot. And so then you're wanting to add more back to it through compost teas or other microbial things, because heat does, and drying out will lower your microbial population in your soils. But with our fertilizers, you get a little bit of both. You get the microbial population and you get some NPK, so the plants are getting it fed right away without having to rely on compost teas constantly, which they might not need because your soil might be already saturated. So we kind of took it as an approach of like, well, people want to use it indoor and they want to use it outdoor. We've got to be able to make it so people can manipulate their crops like they are synthetically. And with synthetics, you can choose when to cut off your nitrogen or cut off your phosphorus like that. True organics, it's harder because you rely on a lot of the microbes and pH and the size of the plant. So a lot of that, how we analyze plants, was more for the fertilizer company. Then we transitioned into using it as a breeding tool. So
that goes great into the next topic. I think Jill's on here. I just saw Orange Photonics on here.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
Jill,
and that's
awesome.
Yeah. That's another thing that you started. I mean, not that I like know all the breeders of the world or anything, but locally you've been kind of cutting edge. More people are breeding this way than were, but you really started because you had a medical need, or what is that what really motivated you to get into the more?
No, well, yeah, because I was curious. And so I started out with liquids, you know, that was on these little glass plates, and they make dots. It's a cool little art piece when you find something cool, because you're like, oh, I want to frame that because it looks really cool with all these little dots colored and going up. but you had to put a little circle percentage meter on there and look at it, and you're like, wait a second, is that 12 or 15? I don't know, you know. And so I've been doing that for a while, and that's pretty cool to see what you have, you know, to understand what before all the labs were available. That was a really cool thing to do. And then I met Dylan and Stephanie from Orange Photonics at one of the that wasn't MJ Biz, it was one of the NCIAs. And I had a COA on my phone and the same herb that I've tested. And so I was like, well, let's see how close this thing is, you know. And they had those spectrometry ones, one from, oh man, it was a stand-up one, I forgot. It's kind of like that Purple Pro. It has its limits because it doesn't break it down through a solution. Sage Analytics. So they were before Purple Pro, which Purple Pro only does 2 cannabinoids, where Sage back then did 5 cannabinoids. So it's like, okay, I'd rather have Sage over that. And so anyways, I went up to their booth and said, hey, Dylan, run this. And so he ran it, and I started comparing results, and I was like, damn, you guys aren't that far off from a COA, man, you know? So then every show I kept running into them, I was bringing herb with a COA. And people would stand there and they're like, holy shit, I've never seen a 30%er in my life, you know, like that. And that was back in 2000 and, I can't remember. It was a while ago. It was like six, seven, that was a while ago. People weren't really seeing 30%ers, you know, and that was, you know, both the lab and I wasn't trying to fix results things. I'm not trying to inflate numbers for sale. That was just for curiosity. Yeah. And I'm like, holy cow. No wonder that thing was just like putting me to sleep, you know? And so it had a purpose because it did have high terpenes too as well, you know? It was still hitting in the, you know, the upper 2s, you know, low 3s and terpenes with 30% back then. And so everyone's like, like that. And I'm just like, okay, whatever, you do you. You know, I'm medicated, man. Fuck it, I'm medicated. You know, you do you. You know, who cares? You know, that was my attitude. And so I started putting a little more trust in that because I started sending samples. And the real way to know your analytics is, if you're going to do it yourself or to do other labs, is to take one sample and spread that same sample to the different labs. And then that way you can see who's doing what to your sample. I have done that multiple times, and I've done that a lot of times, even with the light lab and analyzing. We had to do a lot of that kind of R&D work with the hemp part with our fertilizers to make sure that we weren't tripping, you know, like, what? Okay. So when I add too much phosphorus at this point, it's actually spiking the THC levels from a point, you know, 0.2 up to a 0.7. Okay, wait, but when I gave it a lot of nitrogen, it made it more biomass. That's what you want, biomass. So it didn't encourage as much cannabinoid production, but more structured production. That's when I was like, okay, so I'm gonna start telling all my hemp clients just to go nitrogen most of the way, man. You know, so if you want to be really compliant. And so that was a helpful tool for that. And then, like I said, now that they're calibrated for THCV and THCVA, it's pretty amazing now what I have missed out on so many genetics out there that I just was like, oh, this looks great, this smells great. You know, because I still do traditional breeding. I don't rely totally on the cannabinoid aspects of it. That's later. I do that when I go, wait a second here, smoke it, smell it, and the plant, I'm like, wait a second, what's special about this? You know, then that's when I really want to know what's up with it. So I still do traditional style of like, except now I separate my open pollination where I have a bunch of females, but I put one male to those females, and then later on in the season I'll do the other male with the same females. So technically I'm doing this open pollination, and people criticize the fuck out of me for that. I'm like, what's the difference except I know what my plants are doing, you know? And so I'm like, again, fuck it, you do you. You know? And so it's like, but people doing what they're doing right now, there's a glut right now, you know, I think we're all like trying to search for that one, and people have to adapt and really seek new methods of breeding and new partnerships with different breeders.
And we don't even know what that one is. Like you just said, like, yeah, now the box tests for THCV. Well, you know, we're discovering new cannabinoids and new terpenes and new aspects to this plant every day. So when I think, oh, yeah, we see a 30% THC, it's like, well, how many other 30% THCs are out there that haven't even been looked at, you know?
Right.
You know, where is that the medicine as the science unravels it all?
Well,
You know?
yeah, and pest, you know, pest wise, the 30%ers have a place, because the more THC, even though
Yeah.
you're passing it on to another cross or breed, it doesn't encourage as much pests to want to stick to the plant because they're stuck to the plant, you know, because that has a purpose too. Is like when you're looking at like, wow, how did I get this one to be less, you know, less pests on this one? Well, nature, if you look at it, high resonance plants and high aromatic plants tend to be less attacked by bugs unless introduced to it, you know? So there has another point besides just inflated numbers. That's just what the media has been telling us.
That's just nature's wisdom, man. Are you going to
Right.
put all this wisdom in Canopyright with your cultivars in there? Because, I mean, this is like stuff
It's there's
that
limits to what Marty can put into Canopy.
you can write a note.
But I am a home grower, and so home growers, well, medical grower, legal, however you want to put it, because I still am medical because I'm epileptic, so I still have my California medical, so I can still grow like 99 plants. And so, but I'm wise about what I choose to work with. When you have like a plethora of stuff to work with, sometimes it can be overwhelming, and then you lose track of the hunt, what you're really looking for, right? And so that's how I feel right now. It's like it's ever evolving, but it's also ever devolving, because we start having too many varieties with different names but the same terpene profile.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Layla, I gotta dress like a lawyer and go to a board meeting in 3 minutes. But
No worries. When you
but
leave, it's good talking to you, Jeff. It's so awesome. Always good talking with you, man. The
but
creator
can
right
we
here. This is
ask
the
about the
creator.
hunt from start to finish? And can we ask about what AFGU is? Because it's magic. And those are my 2 requests for when I watch this video later,
Yeah,
because I gotta go right now.
no problem. So what do you want, like specifics about like hunt? Like how do I hunt, or what do I think about like the hunts? Right?
Well, you talked about you're in a hunt amongst the plants in your garden because you can only have a finite number.
Okay. So
what you're looking for when I watch this video tonight.
Okay.
All right.
That's a good
Bye,
question,
Jeff.
and
Have a
it's
great
good explanation.
night.
See you, Jeff.
Appreciate you.
Okay, take it easy. So Jeff can take over from this spot later. So the way I hunt is pretty simple, and it can be achieved by actually any grower of any size. So what I was taught, because we were limited on medical back in, it was the old sheriff who just passed, Gary Phillips, you know, was always his panties were always in a bunch with like 10 plants, right? He would come after you like, I'm gonna take you and then leave us with 1 plant, and you're like, oh gosh, you know, like that. And so so back then we were only allowed like 10 big outdoor plants. So I was taught, like, once you know, from the indoors, like, okay, well, the Big Bud, Salmon Creek Big Bud was a special cultivar back then, because it did really good in hydroponics. It was really strong and powerful strain back then. Yeah.
She's stacked.
Yeah.
Man.
And that was the original one that I was amazed when I said 4,800 a pound back then, and like in the 80s and 90s, I was like, damn. And so that strain was one of ones I started working with back in the day. And what they did was they were lucky and had a couple seeds left from Amsterdam, because the rest of them went into my buddy Chris Geo, who I ended up living with, and he's actually missing, still one of the missing guys. Here in Humboldt, long dreadlock guy, but he's the guy who started Sam Creek Big Bud. And anyways, so they went to in the 80s to Amsterdam and got the Sensi seeds Big Bud. His seeds went through a washer and dryer, and he was left with a few only seeds, and then a few seeds sprouted. That's where the
washer and dryer.
Yep. So he only had a few of the seeds that were saved and sprouted, and it was really good. They had one they called Big Bud and Big Dud because it looked really good, but didn't really have a packed high, you know. So what we all know, the Salmon Creek Big Bud came from only a few seeds. So what they did after that, year after year, was, well, obviously went back and got more seed, planted pack after pack after pack after pack, and put the clone out there. And from season to season to season, even with a male back to it with offspring of that, we kept planting more seed to compare it in like groups of like 20 to, you know, keep the population small, like 20 to, you know, 50, and then ran it the best clone, best plant from that against it indoors to see if it could take it on. So I implemented that same style to keep it small, but what's the rush kind of breeding. So how I do it is I have my ones that I like to have to keep around, you know, like the SFVOG, my hazes, my skunks, skunk crosses, because that's what I like most. I have always liked those. And then AFGU, I'll talk about that later because that's one that I've been working with crosses. But to keep those around and be able to breed, I have to be able to employ that same method for breeding of taking that clone round around and just tossing more seed at it and seeing what can, it's just like, you know, going to a tryout. What can these other players do with against my player, you know? And then when you find another clone, then you go, okay, well, let's see how this one handles against this much feeding that this one can handle. Oh, that's what I thought. This one burns. Nope, you're out. So start all over. So that's how I do it, but then that's how I can achieve a bigger pathway for more cultivars and be able to see my back crosses much faster.
And then the banana AFGU was his part 2 question.
So AFGU, I got from old rainbow heads, you know, that original from the original breeders, and it was old seed. And so I crossed everything's mother with it when I found a male, because even them, they're like, wow, you made more seed. That's awesome, because everything that's available right now is clone only. So, or not clone only, but feminized. So you can breed with it, but it's a different type of breeding. You know, you can't use a male and do, you know, have more options with it, you know?
Well, it's one of the reasons where food is so expensive right now, because we've been building food off of clones for so many generations that our crops are unstable.
Yeah. And probably a lot of it has to do with like too much inbreeding, you know, and that without like looking at the different characteristics of the plant or them. A lot of them use the same male instead of searching for a new generation of male, not trying to improve a male or improve a female. So if you have a clone, because the hop industry kind of does the same thing. When they find a champion one, you know, a prized female, they'll go through their cycle of different cultivars and say, oh, well, let's hit it with this male, and then they can back cross it and then start over with a new male instead of hitting with the same male, you know, even on that back cross. So they can start over with a whole new male. And so it's more about not using the same parent over, like trying to back cross it over and over and over and over again, you know, then you'll get a lot of mutations.
I think there's going to be a market sooner than later in really stable old genetics males to pair with you know, like some brands got a cultivar that, you know, that they're really is their name by, that they want to cross that cultivar with. They're going to start realizing exactly what you already know, is you need to have, you know, a real strong male to keep going, and this crossbreeding on top of each other doesn't last forever.
Right. And with the Afghan, I looked at you gotta look at the lineage too. It's a Maui haze crossed with an Afghan, right? So I was like, well, what can I cross it with in my arsenal that's Afghani based or haze based or has any of those in it, you know? And that's where Banana OG came in. The Banana Afghan is Banana OG from what's his name? What's his name? Something Rascal. Not Rascal, no, what's his name? He's up in Oregon. Something Kid. Oregon Kid or something like that. I think it's Oregon Kid. He's the one who bred it originally. And that was using a skunk haze crossed with SFV OG. And that's what makes Banana OG. So I was like, oh, shoot, it's got haze in there.
Wow.
And I already was like, no way, because that's what I've been working with when Andrea went to Amsterdam. She went to overseas back in the 90s and brought me back Super Haze, which is skunk haze. And so a lot of my old crosses were skunk haze influenced already. So I thought that was like, that's awesome, you know, like that, because it's like my Grinch's cookie is the Salmon Creek that was a mistake, selfed Big Bud. Before Chris left, he was like, wow, that's cool. And that by chance has CBD in it. So it has THC and CBD in it, which the old Salmon Creek does not have CBD in it. And so I crossed that to a skunk, it's the super haze, the skunk haze, super haze. It was an F3 at that point because I had made seeds for 3 generations since the original pack. And so most of my crosses are already like that, like my Grinch's cookie. So I did cookie cross with that haze. And so I was like, shoot, I want to start marrying those things together. And then the Afghan seeds came along. And then all of a sudden I got sidetracked and I was like, nope, because there's hardly any of this around. I got to preserve the seed stock. I got to this and that. So I had to use my outdoor. Yeah.
It really is good medicine, Marty. I've gotten to grow it a few times in the past 20 years, and it's really good medicine. You know, we're popping some cantaloupe haze seeds, and I'd love to give someone a mail of one of them if we get some. I mean, I'm hoping we'll get some males out of it if you're interested.
Ooh, I'm always interested in males, but right now, because of that Orange Photonics and that whole THCVA module, I have a whole new project going on. And so maybe a year ago, when someone could catch me more as like, catch me more open to doing things, anybody, I mean, really, it was a green light for anybody. But right now, the THCVA project is in full effect, so I gotta stay focused and put my time and my money, and obviously time is precious right now in this industry, into improving more THCVA bred cultivars.
I love
you know, so because there is I guess every, you know, and that's the thing about adapting, is you got to start breeding for everybody. You can't just start breeding and making strains of the same strains within your own community, you know, because everyone's liking this whatever cake crossed with gelato juice, you know. Then you can't go, you know, you can, but I don't know how far you're going to get when you're like, oh, I got the beans from that, and I'm going to start crossing it with the other hype strain from, you know, the same community. And then everyone's starting to have the same crosses.
Yeah. And if we think about one of the reasons this plant is moving towards legalization is because of its vast medicinal benefits to humanity, then like one of the reasons I think we have so many vast medicines that work for so many different ailments is because a lot of it was curated in these regions where there's so much microclimate diversity, you know, and we can't lose that.
No, and that's why it's always good to see how the plants react regardless, indoor, outdoor, or, you know, greenhouse or whatnot. Because if you find that cultivar, that Big Bud, back to Big Bud, that was a good example because it was bred indoors. It was started indoors, but you could grow it outdoor, and you can grow it in a greenhouse. So epic, right? But on the vice versa, we've had plants back then that we started from the outdoor that were only good for outdoor. When you grew it indoor, it didn't really do much. So you limited yourself to one thing, right? And so that's how I feel with a lot of these varieties is it's like okay, I'm an ex-athlete, and that's why I'm all about cannabis too, is because my pain relief, not only from my epilepsy, from whatnot. But it's like you watch anyone who watched basketball last night, watched LeBron just break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's point scoring record, right? He's a valuable player. He's an all-star, right? And so, but he's diverse in the fact that he can play center when needed. He could play point guard when needed. He could play any position on the court. He could also step down as being the play caller on the team if he has to. So that's how I feel like growers or breeders need to be these days, is to be able to have the ability to know how to adapt and stop, just stop. Okay, it's like we're going nowhere. I'm watching it from a different angle. No one's going anywhere. But if we accept something new, it might benefit us, you know? I'm just speaking out of like wisdom. It's like sometimes you got to step out of your comfort zone to make it. And right now, everyone's got to step out of that comfort zone. And breeding's the same way, you know? People don't have.
And Marty, what cracks me up is you're just so nailing it. But like, dude, when was it ever comfortable? When, like, it's just like, it's not what got us here. What got us here is doing exactly what you're saying, right? Is stepping out of the box, is playing to a different tune and staying focused on our game. You know, that's what got you here.
Yeah, you know, love of the plant. Like he's like, you know, in Davis, you know, they would, even with the 215, they would throw you in jail for, you know, a closet. And so I was like, fuck this, I'm out, peace. I'm going to Humboldt. I got invited up to Humboldt. I didn't miss the opportunity. Like, it was 1997. I haven't come back because I was like, I'm safe up here, you know, or safer, even though camp was coming down on me and all that stuff. I was safer than I was down in Yolo County, you know? And so it made a huge difference in where I was. So moving out of where I was comfortable with all my protection from my homies, you know, down in Davis to a whole new area was a win situation, you know? So I stepped out of my like I said, my personal and social comfort zone and said, screw this. Let's start all over, you know? And so, yeah, it's that whole analogy of just, you know, sometimes you gotta know when to start all over.
What was that, Kelsey?
It's like a leap of faith situation sometimes. Going into something you're not totally sure, and then, you know, having it be really good when you commit to it.
Yeah, you know, and that's the same thing with the mycology world. They intertwine in because we all have to start small somewhere, right? And right now I'm trying to make, you know, mushroom substrates for gourmet and medicinal mushrooms. And so anyways, to maximize nutrition, so I did some research on that, and I saw, wow, dude, there's plants, soil, and mushrooms have a synergy together, even though one's a fruiting body of a little mushroom, tiny little smurfed out mushroom. And then these other ones are massive, like colas that you want to pose next to, like you're, in GQ magazine or something. You're like, hey, look at my sexy little lady right here. She's, I want to show you, how sexy she is, like that. And so it's funny, it's like you definitely, there's a whole, like, you've got to put a lot in to make it sexy. You know what I mean? And so that's where I've seen that relationship with accelerated growth, mycelium and with the plants, and that helps out a lot with breeding, because if you could see the proper, like, specimen, like the proper, like, it broke down all the nutrients right away, it got everything it needed, it's it's thick and hard, it's totally mature, indoor and outdoor, because of the availability, then you're stoked. You get to be able to judge what you just planted in seed without being, well, if I let it go another 10 days, I think I put too much, I think the nitrogen broke down at the wrong time and this and that, and even indoors, or outdoors. And so you don't really get that, like, well, next season we'll try again, and you forget about it. So I think that's where a lot of, like, some of these hunts also get bunked out, because people did something and they're just like, eh. Then they lose interest because there's something new that pops up. So
Marty, I want to make sure you know that Scoot's genetics is like breaking the heart button with all your wisdom.
Yeah, Scoots, good guy, man. Good guy. Big up, Scoots.
Lot of props.
Yeah, no, Florida, man, he's definitely talks, home growers, because he's definitely right now, and I'm sorry if I'm talking about you, Scoots, but
He's hurting you.
he definitely pushes to a crowd right now that is, I feel that's where a lot of this grassrooted. It didn't, the 30, 40, 100, 200 lighters and 2-acre farms was not grassroots back in the day. The grassroots was us in the closets because none of us wanted to get fucking busted,
Right.
And so a lot of care and passion comes in with the home growers. They show a lot of passion because they have, I would say, a lot more to lose, their pride, than they do monetary, So when you keep your pride in check because you're proud of what you grew, the money is always going to be there, no matter what industry you're in. So
Marty, maybe what you could do, since we have some home growers that are watching, is you could talk a little bit about how you're utilizing canopy rights as a home grower, as a medical grower.
Okay, well, so back to Banana Afgoo. When we launched this project, I stuck in my haze and the Banana Afgoo because those were two ones that I felt were like unique palette, that it was a good something good that can take something to a new direction if someone wanted to breed with it. So I just, for the launch project, decided to go ahead and put in a couple cultivars that I've had. One, the haze, I've been growing for, man, well over a decade. So that one I know it's the super silver haze crossed with my super haze. So and that one definitely is really unique because of the has a little bit of the hazy floralness, but it also has a little bit of train wreckiness to it. So you can unlock that, and it tests really good with THC and extracts. Man, it hit over 10% in extracts in terpenes. So it's not a weak strain, and so I feel like, well, if someone had that like piney whatever, or that gelato-ish kind of flavor, and then crossed it to this. So when the time is right, if I decide to go metric, because I'm a legal home grower in California and every state's different, I'm allowed to do 6 plants. So that's one of the 6 plants I've always grown. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna put it in there. And so one day, if someone wants to find out how they can get it into their system, or I turn into a farm because someone goes, hey, I want to work with you and those cultivars.
Yep.
Okay,
Or
sweet.
nursery, or yeah.
It's already documented. We already have, you know, and when you're building a brand, like when I built my fertilizer brand from scratch, because I didn't relabel my products. And these are all original blends that we tested at the university because Andrea was a microbiologist there. So we had access to a lot of university testing, lots of university testing, like 5 years of testing before we launched the product. And so registration is really tough, you know, when you're making your own brand because you're making claims and this and that. But a company that's a lot larger, if you're relabeling, it's easier for you to put those claims on a label. So when someone's growing cannabis, it's the same thing. You're just like, well, am I going to relate? Are we just relabeling a lot of this gelato, or this cookies, or this ice cream cake, or the sour diesel to say it's Charlie's Sour D,
Right.
you know? So, but when it comes to like real business ethics, you know, you don't want just that like relabeling because you want your product. Like right now I'm drinking a cider to keep my mouth like from drying from smoking. And this company right here, 2 Town Cider, I guarantee you no one else is gonna take this name, Cosmic Crisp Blueberry, even though there's tons of blueberries out there. It's their own recipe, but they also have their own name and branding name that they're associated with what they brew. Now they put their own ingredients into what they're making here. They're not white labeling this as a white label, you know, private label, and putting their own label on it, what a lot of people are doing. So I feel like that's where that's really going to separate in a business aspect. Now I think it's dialed into real business to where you really, if you're going to work with varieties, you want to work with varieties that are original, that you know no one else has. You know, even though you have a haze, do you have this super silver haze crossed with a super haze F3 that hits these same numbers with these same terpenes? You know, well, it's going to take you a while to try to get that, you know, to get that same profile and those same numbers. So that's what these other brewers do, is like someone else has a blueberry cider, but they call it something else. So they had to figure out how to brew it that way to make it taste similar, but not the same, right? So that's how I'm relating, because I used to brew for Sudor, Clogger, and Davis, and everyone tries to knock off Sierra Nevada or Budweiser or whatnot, you know? And so that's why I think that expanding out your terpenes, and if you have something that tastes like super cool and you're a home grower, upload it, you know, save it, because then someone might be like, I'm looking for this like kind of cranberry pomegranate flavor. I haven't found that anywhere. Oh, dude, this home grower right here. Hey, man, can we hire you to work with us or breed so we can have access to this strain so we can start growing, selling on metric? Yeah, man. Where's that? Well, let's talk, man. Let's talk. You know. So that's where that helps out. That's where it helps out a home grower, you know, with canopy rights. It's just so that way they can know that no one else is going to take, because we are the bottom of the food chain, the home grower.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, but I think you guys are at the top of the food chain, but people just don't understand the value yet. Because you guys, the home growers, the breeders, people who've really worked intimately with this plant, the small farmer, really understand. And so what I hear you saying, Marty, and what I have seen and experienced from not being as much of, I mean, I love the plant, but I don't have the knowledge that you and so many others have around this plant. I just, I've always been a hobby grower or a self-medicine grower, I guess I would call it. But I think that what I've seen is that when you smell your plant and you go, wow, that has some really magical terpenes, or that has something really magic in it, even if you can't lab test it, I mean, like the people, your plants, and so even if you can't protect it, save it, begin that trail of accountability. And, right now, home growers can't utilize the marketplace at Canopyright. But what it does do, if someone was to come out with Marty's banana afgoo and started making a whole bunch of money off it, now Marty has a way to go, whoa, bro, little accountability here. What's up? Which we haven't had before.
Well, see, that's why I started. I'm going to start using musical terms on here, but I started jiving with Jeff in this whole thing because he's a musical lawyer for music, right? Or former. I don't know if but he did it for music. And my cousin is Bruno. He's one of Bruno Mars's producers. He was the Far East. They were the Far East. They wrote a lot of songs for Far East movie. Like Take Him to the Greek had that. Fly Like a G6. Those songs and stuff like that. So my cousin actually was the producers of those guys, and so I just know from the music industry, if some guy makes a beat, he could be a little closet guy with his MPC little beat machine, makes a killer like beat because he's got all these different effects to make it. Someone's gonna want to use that because they're like, yeah, man, where'd you get? Where's that? Like, what'd you use to do that? And he's like, oh. So he's got to have a way to be able to protect himself from someone else like turning that and running with it, So, it's like finding obscure records back in the day, like I have a whole stack of records. I'm like, who's this guy? I just got this from my dad. And you play it and you're like, I want to sample that, right? Because it's so obscure, right? It might be some marching band or some crazy, like super old hippie like intro, and you're like, I like that. I want to put some crunk beat behind it with a little bit of reggae funk, and it might be kind of, but I gotta find out who this artist is because I gotta give them credit, otherwise I might get sued. And so that's what I like about the Canopy rights is like you could be a homegrown DJ, and still have the same principle with it. Is like I want to use that sample seed or strain, but I need to have some permission, because right now, unless you've already created new strains that aren't ultra worked, so if you're taking original strains and there's not in the marketplace, it'd be wise to upload those as a home grower, secure those, not like feminized cross of all these things like this. Not saying not, but I'm just suggesting saying if it's something original, like super original, like you had like a haze and some like you went to Morocco on vacation and you came across bag seed and you made this cross and it has this unique profile no one else has. It might be wise to do something like that because pretty soon here people are going to seek out because all these other strains like cookies are going to start putting TMs on the backs of certain names, so you won't be able to use those, so once they put a trademark on there, they're like, screw you guys, replicating my seeds or feminizing our clone.
You have a time actually at the.
What was that, Kelsey?
Well, the whole thing with the Canopyright is the timestamp, right? I mean, what Marty's saying about down the line, there's going to start being stronger protections on stuff, but you can say, hey, no, like I've had this, look.
I guarantee you every hype strain is going to do that. So, sorry, Kelsey.
No, that's it, the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, and it sets a standard for accountability. So say, I won't say a brand, but say, the big brand on campus comes up to you and says, dude, I want your strain, your genetics, like throw me some stuff and I'm going to kick you down. And you go, yeah, dude, awesome. Let's do it. Do it. Because now you can have it in Canopyright and you can do it. And if they don't honor the contract, you can go, and that product's out on the market, you can get that product and take your DNA and cross compare and say, oh, wait a second, this is mine. And now I have I time capsuled this so I can show you that it was I had this creation, this cut in my possession at this time.
Yep. And even outside of Canopyrights, what you just said about like the different tools, and when it does come down to that matter of law of like who's using what cut, right? So I've been testing different live cultivars, including my Zanzibar, which is really phenomenal in THCV numbers, right? So outside of that, I've tested this red Congolese and these pink Buscatus, right? And they're very defensive because they're just like, how do I know that you're not trying to like breed it with another strain right away? And because you have the analytics, you can start claiming that based off of us, you just use some basic like NL5 and then got it to be THCV A. And I'm like, I could, but in the time frame right now, I don't think it's physically possible. It's like, and then the same thing with me testing this red Congolese. I was testing this red Congolese, and the guy's like, "Is that my strain? Did you save a cut?" And I was like, "I don't think it would be, time sensitive. I don't think I'd have enough time to root it and grow it this big." And then I was like, "But if it came down to it, we could do a showdown. I could take my male, you could take your red Congolese cross, you could take your pink Buscatus, so we can run DNA, and we'll see a huge difference. And then who's going to go running with their tail between their legs? Not me, you motherfuckers for accusing my ass."
Well, that's the beauty of, I think, putting all the science together and starting using the science along with our talents. Is it's no longer a he said, she said, this, that. It's the plant speaks. And she speaks loudly. And what we've already seen in some of your cultivars, Marty, is that it also mutates and creates unique things that we don't even understand where they come from yet. So
like that skunk.
Like that skunk, baby.
even though it's common skunk, and it's actually from the seed from Mel Frank. So I didn't even like, well, Mel Frank, who got them from Skunkman Sam, and then gave that same little batch of seeds to Todd, and then Todd gave me some like right away. So I was part of that crew who got the original 96, right? And so that was fucking 20 something years old, and it was heterozygous in the THCA allele. That like means that there's like most varieties, almost all varieties according to the genomics, have homozygous alleles for THCA. That means the pairs are the same. So we had the 480 or 450, which is common, and then that I63L allele to make it heterozygous, which no one knows. Maybe that's based on something or food or conditions. We don't know what that other allele can do. And so that's why it's like important, if you're a breeder, if you're serious, to know those things if that's something you want to know. Like now I'm curious because whatever I breed it with, I'm like, well, what's going to unlock that? And I'm super curious now too with this high THC VA male. Is like, well, has Medicinal Genomics ever tested a high THC V? Like, and they always want to test males and saying, well, what's the marker on that one? So that way they can start saying, well, maybe, and skunk 1 is known to have some THCV in it, not in like large quantities, a little bit, maybe less than 1%. So it's not really detected in a lot of tests, but it's known to have THCV in it. So maybe that is THCV. We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. I know.
And
It's
that's
so
the fun
cool.
part.
Yeah.
No, that is totally what, I'm like, seriously, like, I'm on my toes, like dancing around like a ballerina going, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? Ready to twirl, ready to do it, whatever, triple
Totally.
axel, and just like, all right, what's next? Because it's like, that's the fun part of it. It's like, yeah, breed for hype if you want to. Breed for whatever, your namesake. I breed because I enjoy this fucking plant, man. It's fun, man. It's like you want to see what it's all about, And so I don't know about you, man. I'm a fucking stoner, and so that's pretty stony if you ask me, man. You're like, I don't want to know what the fuck this shit's doing, like that. Get all ripped, put a big old joint in my mouth, and start playing with some chemicals, and go, shit, I hope I don't die from mixing this and this and that. Old school stoner style shit, right? So where's that love and passion of stoners wanting to know what the fuck's up with their shit, dude? Like getting all like nerded out, going, oh fuck, what's doing this, or why, oh wow, it's doing that, So I don't know. That's just how I feel about it,
So I want to address some of the folks in the audience. So Empire Exotic Smoke, Jeff left, and like Kelsey said in the Canopyright response, he is our lawyer. But yeah, it is a little difficult. What this does is this begins to create the level accountability, and it does give you a chain of custody that is of value in a court of law, that law does take very strongly when you can show the chain of custody something. And what we've done with Canopyright is found a way to establish that chain of custody for you. And then, yes, getting ready for it is right, Empire Smoke. And then Mr. Redbeard 88 asked if it covers crosses as well. Actually, you can't cover crosses, and Jeff will come in and answer this, but in all plants, you really can't license cover the cross of another plant. So that it is the same as it is with all plants around the answer to that. And what we'll do is Jeff will come back in, and this video will stay on until tomorrow, and he'll come back in and answer some of these questions. Yo, Brad, rare breed. Yeah, you do need to hang out with Marty.
Yeah, time, man. Let's smoke. I like smoking, man.
Yeah, so does Brad. Brad's got the you should check out what he's got in Canopyright there, Marty. He's got the old chem dog. I think.
Oh no, wait, which one? I can't really read the chat too much, but which chem dog do you have right now? Because I did have to give away what I thought was the Chem 4, and I was going to cross that to a couple things, maybe THCV A plant, but I had a couple other like Haze and NL males that I wanted to tag it with to kind of back cross it. So
Brad hardly smokes, sorry.
So yeah, just whatever chem dog you have, man.
DJ Shortberry, Trainwreck, and Chem 91.
Oh, so he has a cross chem. Okay, not pure chem.
No, I think that's what he's crossed with everything.
Oh, okay. Oh,
that's
wow.
what's in the library. That's what's in Canopyright. But I don't want to speak for Brad. Brad will tell you. I'll let him tell.
Nah, dude, that would be a good banana afgoo cross right there.
Yeah.
Conversations.
Well, because the old school. Okay, so I chased that old blueberry turd. That one that's like super earthy, but like sweet, but yet not too berry-like, like acrid berry-like. So that blueberry, my goal was to make it a little bit more afgoo kind of tasting, but with that banana OG earthiness that's kind of similar to blueberry. And so banana afgu too, the one that I have on Canopyright, that I just actually smoked earlier, kind of to complement this, had that kind of like earthy, almost blueberryness. So it would almost, I can imagine that blueberry train wreck chem having kind of like a semi train wrecky, but with that blueberry sweetness with that kind of funky skunky chemness to it.
I love it. Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I'd have
And
to
it's
smoke
got
it to
some
know.
really nice structure too. It stacks a lot like salmon. It in fact, it kind of, the ones I've seen stack a lot like Salmon Creek Big Bud. You
Okay.
get a good, nice stacking things.
Yeah, I'm always interested in those kind of like projects, because it's like I said, I'm seeking certain flavors and certain things within my cultivars, or things that I'm going to work with. And so the one problem I have right now with I'm just going to grab some smoke. Sorry about that. That'll have to come inside. So I'm going to different colors for a second. But some of the things that I don't are the unknown with my Zanzibar strain is that I don't know the flavor profile of it, but I assume it's going to be like Malawi or like a Durban poison, where it's going to have kind of a licorice flavor, which is kind of awesome. You know, I like that
That's
Durban
Carrie's
poison.
favorite.
Yeah, I like that licorice, kind of like that licorice funk is really good, you know? So that's one thing I can't guarantee with like flavors, but like with my banana afgu and things that I have seen, I can say, yeah, man, it's gonna have this kind of profile, and then we can proceed from there. So that's kind of like why it's awesome, like to be able to be a home grower and know your varieties, so then you can turn around and use it for people with bigger farms. So
Hey, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm enjoying it. I got it, but I have to go. I just saw it was 10 after.
yeah, no worries. No worries.
But go ahead, Marty. I was just gonna say I sure appreciate that you're a part of this project, Marty, and everything I've learned from you over the years. I've greatly appreciated. How can people find you?
So my website, well, I'm on IG, is at Sensational Solutions. You can always message me or just check out my profile. I've got a lot of plant pictures of a lot of things. Or they can, that's the easiest way, or email me. My email's on that same thing. I'm also on Facebook under Sensational Solutions, and we have www.sensational-solutions.com. A lot of people forget to put in Sensational and Solutions, and then I think they get taken to some like face lotion or some kind of lotion site sometimes, and I'm like, hey man, we're smooth too. Yeah. So it works out in both ways, man. You can rub it on, or you can pour it on, one of the two. But yeah, so that's how they can find me the easiest, is through our website, and we have a contact us page too on there.
Right on. And if you guys want to go see what that banana afgoo looks like, you can go register for free as a home grower. You don't have to register a cultivar, but you can go in and register for free. It's free to do a cultivar too, but I'm just not saying you're not obligated. And go look at Marty's amazing cultivars, and there's others in there. The afgoo it's one of my favorites.
I am, because it is a promo thing right now. People, if you're not in Humboldt County, you can always try to track me down at a show or come smoke with me. I'll be at a lot of festivals, like Sierra Nevada is going to be back again this year. But I'm doing a promo right now because it's there, to find that one banana afghan 2, it's gonna take a lot of hunting. So I give away with ordering of my products a promo pack of seeds of banana afghan. So if you're listening to this or you are hearing this, it's a good opportunity for you guys to order my fertilizers. I give them for free. And sometimes I give hay seeds. Sometimes I give out, other afghan crosses, or I give out, old, land race crosses or land races. But right now, as a promo, I'm giving out, because this is Canopyright, since the launch of this thing, I am giving out banana afghan seeds if you order a significant amount of, if you order the whole 1 pound program, or if you order the Go Green and Blissful Bloom, I'll give you a 10-pack of seeds. Who else is going to give you that many seeds? And it's it's some good seeds, We will also be offering other like Chat Organics, or I'm trying to get Sticky Fields, who's also on Canopyright. I'm trying to get him to do a promo with my products as well. But for now, I'm trying to start roll, get the ball rolling, and have people order my products and get a pack of banana afghan seeds for free.
Right on. Well, it's coming to that time of year, so Carrie and I better get on it.
Yeah, so yeah, so it was cool. If you guys have any more questions, it was totally awesome talking with you guys. I like always talking about weed. I like talking about now psychedelics. I've always liked talking about psychedelics. I've been, when I had ankle long dreadlocks, it wasn't just about the weed. We were all, it's like, yeah. You go to show, it's like, wow, that looks cool. So I've always been into the psychotherapy and of things, and maybe one day Canopyright is going to be doing, because a lot of people are crossing mushrooms these days.
Well, and it's kind of like I like to say, and we all do, I think, like to say, we're helping put the power back in the people's hands. And when I think about that, I think about indigenous medicines. And one of the biggest problems with our wellness today is that we're so far away from natural medicine. It's been bastardized, right? And so and part of the reason it gets bastardized is, like, I'm experiencing this right now with the Back to the Land movement. There's all this Back to the Land movement stuff. Well, if the true people don't tell about the Back to the Land movement, we won't get the teachings from the Back to the Land movement. And so medicine is the same way. And I think all of these medicines need to be protected and kept in the creator's hands so we don't lose the medicine.
Right. And it became a shit show because of Randolph Hearst, and then their ability to use the newspapers as a scare tactic. And so it became a shit show past that, And so how do they clean up a fucking diarrhea mess that they made throughout history? How do they clean that up? I just think that they need to, like, take away all these taxes. They need to take away all these things. It's like, man, can you guys at least, like, give us a, like, high five back for, like, hey, we're going to help you with the economy. Just give us a chance, But I don't know. There's still a lot of mess to be cleaned up. And that's the hard part right now with cannabis, And so
I feel like in California, cannabis, we're like at Donner's Pass.
Yeah, we're cannibalizing each other right now.
We're
and
like
that's
at
the hardest part.
That stage of, like, oh, everything's going wrong.
Yeah. And that's what everyone's doing right now with even terpenes, is we're like back to like getting something unique, is we're cannibalizing each other with the same profiles, People might argue with me with that, but man, like Sean was on this before. Great example, right? Me and him are hanging out. Sean's a great guy, good girl.
I like Sean's weed.
Awesome person. But he has this strain that's a completely different cross that has this creamy, like, grapiness to it. Creamy, super tasty, right? But it was a diesel cross with something else, right? So my Grinch's cookie haze has a similar profile, and he goes, oh, did you roll it from my jar in there? I go, no, man, this is my strain. And he was like, no fucking way. And he goes, wait, what cross is this? He goes, this is, I go, oh, this is my Grinch's Cookie cross with, Grinch's Haze cross with Cookie Haze. And then he goes, I go, well, what was that one we were smoking? He goes, oh, that's the Diesel cross Purple Punch. And I was like, what the fuck? How, these are two different crosses and they taste so similar and look totally different. So someone could easily be like, oh, whichever one of these two are the hypest, you know, because they taste the same or similar. Whichever one hypes out the most, they can be like, oh no, it's Diesel Purple Punch. Or someone can say, oh no, this is the Grinch's, this is the real Grinch's Cookie Cross. That's the problem.
So this summer is I go around to farms. I have a new tool, and it's a frequency tool. And what I want to do is read, and it's not mine, it's Carrie's, my best friend's, and she helps. I use it all the time because I'm all about vibrations. And so this summer I'm gonna go and say, hey, you want to do the frequency of your plant? And so we'll do the frequency of the plant and then the frequency of the person, and see, does this person exhibit the need for myrcene? Well, does this plant produce more myrcene? Why is that? Like, just to compare, the biofrequencies between the human and the plant through that
Oh,
experience.
there's a strong relationship with that, you know? Like there was a dude right here. I just saw that last comment. He just said something about open minds, and that's what you need to do with with breeding and intuition, with the plants, is you have to have open mind. And you're like, okay, wow, this one's doing something weird, open your mind up to the plant and not like go, no. I has to have a certain look, has to have a certain like stem rub smell. I mean, it does clue you in, but you look at the leaf patterns, you look at all those environmental factors. You got to look at all those things, open your mind up, and don't go for the money grab. That's exactly why I feel like a home grower is going to like help this program out a lot and help a lot of metric growers out, because the home growers are opening up their mind because they have nothing really to lose. Yeah, a lot of people are learning as a small tent grower or small little closet grower or whatnot, but they're opening their mind to new ideas, So
There's more creativity, allowance for creativity being a home grower, especially if you know how to breed, so you're not having to do those hunts, right?
Exactly.
And that's like that whole thing. That's why you guys are the artists, and that's why the plant is the art, because there's pigments and brush strokes that are unique to each of you that you just can't really measure